Hey, Rick, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, give us a little background on yourself.
Very good. Hey, Brian, nice to meet you. I'm Rick Garcia. I'm the co-founder and chief revenue officer of G12 Communications.
How'd you get there?
Oh, that's a bit of a story. It's interesting. I was living in Texas with my then girlfriend. Moved to Seattle, and and thought, I was working for the airlines at the time, like American Airlines. And and we came to Seattle, and I looked at two different jobs: Alaska Airlines and the phone company. And the phone company paid this commission. Now, I'd never done a sales job for a job, right? When I was younger, I did some things, but never for a job. Anyway, they hired me, and I thought that was great. And I moved into sales management and things like that. And I thought it was great. Like, I loved learning about sales, right? I actually loved learning about sales. And I went through the Jeffrey Gitomer stuff. And my favorite, quite frankly, was Zig Ziglar back in the day, and so I loved all this sort of motivational stuff. So I ate it up. And then I really just stayed in the telecom business for that many years. I worked at the phone company for 5, went to a competitive phone company, MCI, for a few, and then went to this small company where I realized that anyone could own a phone company. I thought, this is interesting. Like, this guy owns a phone company and he's doing really well for himself. I love this. And then I had an opportunity to work for another telecom company. After that, we parted ways, and then another telecom company asked me to work for them, where they did underlying telco services, so for the carriers. And I thought, well, that's really cool. I'll go learn everything I could learn about being a provider to the carriers. And so I did that. It ended up being a 10-year stint.
Wow.
And I knew from the first day that I took that job, I told the president there, I said, this is my last job.
Yeah.
And so when we sold in 2011 to Zayo, as it were, I started G12 Communications.
Cool. And what did you like about selling?
You know, uh, to be honest, I like the idea that you could drive some significant revenue for yourself, right? You can make some money. I'll be honest with you. I didn't get a college degree. I was on the 6-year extended plan and still didn't get a college degree. So it was uh, uh, something that I needed. I had some aspirations for financial success, and I probably wasn't going to get it by working my way up corporate America. And so I thought, well,
Yeah.
here we're going to go. We're going to go get some sales stuff done.
What'd you learn along the way? It looks like you had a good, customer facing job at the airline where you're dealing with less than happy people a lot of times, I bet.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been on the other end of that counter.
Hey, exactly right. Uh, you know, what I learned along the way, I'll tell you, I learned that communication is key, and not just verbal communication. Look, if you can speak well and you can communicate, your feelings to someone, whether it's value, whether it's a position, whatever it is, communication is key, right? And learning how to communicate with people. So I thought, what do they call it? EQ, right? Emotional intelligence is a real key thing, I think, in sales. Understanding the person that's right in front of you.
Yeah.
And whether you're, again, whether it's an audience and it's a vertical that you're speaking to, whether it's an audience that's looking to consume something specific, or whether it's an individual that's looking to buy some of your services. You look at that and you go, if you can communicate well, and you can share your value, you can transfer what you think the value is for this organization, you got a great chance at being successful in sales.
And how about on the other end of communication, understanding where they're at, what they're going through, how they're interpreting that value?
Critical, right? Yeah, I mean, again, your communication style has to be that you can transfer what you know about your business. Now, this is where product knowledge comes in, and understanding about what you offer to that organization, right? So understanding what you're doing for that organization, the value that you can provide to them, right? I mean, you may know your product inside and out. That's great. But if you cannot convey to that customer exactly what your product or service does for them, you won't succeed there, right? And I always practice this thing. I call it like upstream selling, right? And I'll When I started G12 Communications, I was really proud of the fact that for about a year or two, all the sales kind of funneled through me at that point. I didn't use any documentation in terms of PowerPoints, spreadsheets. It was just me speaking to someone and me able to convey the value over a phone, over video, whatever it is, and we got a bunch of deals done. The moment I realized that I need to sell upstream, so the person that I'm talking to, regardless if they're the decision maker, is almost always not the ultimate decision maker.
Right.
They are taking that information, they're presenting it internally to a board, to a CEO, to a CFO, right? And if you sell upstream and you arm them with the information that contains the value that you're providing, then you got a great shot of winning.
Yeah. And was it that you couldn't get access to those people, or the organizations were so big that you couldn't possibly talk to everybody in the decision chain?
Yeah, yeah. I guess it depends on where you're at in that process, right? Oftentimes, whether you start at the top and say, "Hey, I want to," I'm looking for the person that's doing this, right? I want to talk to, to the IT team, and you're, and in my business, right, we talk to the IT teams, and we talk to the IT director and the VP of IT, and we can take it all the way to those guys. But typically, there's going to be somebody else that's
Someone's got
kind
to
of,
pay for it.
yeah, someone's going to write the check. Someone's going to, so someone is lying in the bushes waiting to go. I could put
Ready
a
to
stop
say
to your, I
no.
could put a stop to your sale, or and so being able to convey that value upstream is very important with documentation.
And what would you give them? Because in the complex sale, it doesn't die because the ROI isn't strong enough typically. It dies because people are scared of change. They want to push it off. Something else is more important. They're confused. They think something new is coming right behind this. All kinds of emotional reasons not to do it.
100% agree with you. The idea is, if you can provide as much substantiated information as possible, right? So if you can provide the spreadsheets, if you can provide the data sheets that have the right information, and on top of that, appeal to the emotional decision making, you've got it in the bag at that point, right? It's a done deal. But you're absolutely right though. Buying is still what I consider, it's an emotional thing still,
Absolutely.
right? You have to buy. Relationships are important. You want to buy from people that are that you enjoy, working with. If you had the choice to do business with someone that's sour to speak with and not responsive and things like that, or someone who's lovely to deal with, well, who do you choose?
Yeah.
Right? All things
Think
being
like Rick.
equal, right? You do things with people that you like. So relationships are important, and thus the emotional side of that is definitely comes into play.
And because I can imagine that the IT people get it. They understand what it is, how it's different, why they should do it. But the people that they get the money from and compare it to the other priorities they have may not understand that.
Right. And that's when your emotional transference, right? So you stack them with the information, you put enough emotion into these into the actual champions, right, in the organization,
Yeah.
and they do that job for you, right? They carry your message through, right? So selling upstream.
Yeah. And how did you learn this? Was it trial and error? Was it an epiphany? Was it somebody hit you on the head? Was it?
Uh, y- y- it was, to be honest, it was my business partner. So
Yeah.
my business partner at G12 Communications, he's a really smart guy, and so he's as dry as they come.
He's a real party animal.
yeah, he's our finance guy, he's our legal guy, right? And he's just as dry as they come. And selling to him is probably the most difficult thing there is. So the emotional transference has no
No
bearing
value.
with him at all, right? None whatsoever. So it's all about stats, numbers, metrics. It's all about, give me the hard stuff, right?
Yeah.
So one day we were talking about how, we do a great job at selling, and we want to move our business into, up market. And he had the idea that his, every decision maker is him, right? And they buy the way he buys.
Yes.
And so, we talked about it, and this was a really specific conversation, and what appeals to you, and it's all numbers and metrics. So it is a spreadsheet and a PowerPoint, and the PowerPoints don't mean to be pretty. Like his PowerPoints that he does, like for internal purposes, is a bullet, 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 bullet. So it's not a a beautiful image. If you remember a Steve Jobs, sort of
Right. Yeah.
Apple presentation, there's a beautiful image and you're just talking about
Yeah.
the image, right? That's not it. It's like bullet, 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 right?
Yes.
And so it was a discussion with him, and he's like, "Let's do that." I'm like, "All right, I'll come up with something." So I developed, kind of the documentation that we would use, and say, "Okay, well, here's an ROI calculator. Here's what you're doing now and what you could be doing, and things like that." So we came up with a bunch of those spreadsheets, and really started to use those. And sure enough, larger organizations, I'm talking states and counties and hospitals and cities and different organizations, now all these organizations buy from us today, and we're significantly larger now than we used to be.
Wow.
So
Well, because without that, you're kind of dependent on your champion communicating that.
100%. And then how do you go replicate that, right?
Right.
You need to have superstars everywhere in order to scale a sales organization. Well, that doesn't work,
No,
right?
it doesn't.
What's there's a law out there, right? Is it not the 20-80-20 law, but it's something similar? And maybe I saw it on one of your
The
podcasts or
price is
videos.
law.
Price is law. That's
Yeah.
right. So it's like, if you're trying to rely on superstars only, you're not going to get very far, right? You've got to arm everyone with the right information so you've got half a chance at winning, even if they're not a superstar. And that's what this stuff does.
And what was the price point on a deal? Like, is it six figures, five figures, seven figures?
Well, we're a telecom company, right?
So on
We're
usage or
yeah. Well, it's like we're like a Ring Central or Vonage, right? So we're very much like those guys. And so our customers are business to business customers, and they could range anywhere in size from maybe 5 users to our largest customer is 11,000 users,
okay.
right? So it's the full gamut. We call ourselves a full stack provider because we can serve everybody with different products in the telecommunications space.
Because clearly they want to commoditize you.
100%, 100,
Right? They don't
100%.
know. Oh, you're so unique.
Oh yeah, 100%. We're utility, right? I mean, it's a utility play, and there's a lot of value if you understand what a customer's going through and you understand what they have today. We may be a commodity, and there may be cheaper opportunities out there, but there is certainly a I guess a factor of, if you know the business, if you know what they're doing, and you have a way to support those folks and help those folks, then you've got a great opportunity in front of you.
And that's the key there. And how about
And,
as far as hiring salespeople? What has worked for you?
oh, that's tough. That's really tough. And I'll again, as one of the owners, yeah, you look for people, I think, that have a great work ethic, right? I think a great work ethic and a good attitude. In sales, it's as Zig Ziglar used to say, it's a 100% better to have a good attitude than not, right? You're always better off if you have a good attitude. So I think a willingness to learn. Hiring is very difficult. I think that's really tough. So for sales managers out there and for recruiters out there, you do have a tough job, because you do want someone who's sharp, someone who is diligent, has great work ethic, and is willing to learn. One of the things that's interesting, and maybe you can share your opinion on this, Brian. I know, but you know, when I was growing up, people were interested in working hard to get ahead. They were interested in, hey, I work 8 to 5, but I'm going to go learn I'm going to go learn something to provide additional value to the organization so I can make more money. Right. And so learning wasn't on the job because you had a job to do when you were on the job. You have to go learn something on your own time. And to me, I feel like that's changed a bit these days. And maybe there's some people out there that do it, and kudos to you. But boy, I like the person that wants to go learn and go figure things out. And we've got a lot of those here at my company today, and they're fantastic team members, and we treat them all like family.
Well, that's it. Because certainly when I went to school, college, I went at night, couldn't afford day, had to work,
Right.
and saw a degree increases value. But I just from a competitive standpoint, I didn't want to not know stuff and or not have
Right.
that. And
Right.
I think you hit upon that, what I call new smart. because today everything's online.
Yeah.
Harvard's online,
Yep.
MIT's online. Almost anything that you want to learn outside of maybe being a heart surgeon or something.
Right.
Kim
Right. Yeah.
Kardashian just passed the baby bar.
No kidding.
And that's the law bar, not the drinking bar.
Right. Right. That's amazing. That's fantastic, right? Like if everything is out there, right? I mean, you can go get the same information that you're right that Harvard's teaching in business, and probably more, to be honest, right? It's all out there, and if you have the patience, yeah, the aptitude and the diligence and the work ethic to go learn something, you can teach yourself anything. I mean, nearly anything, right? Obviously, you don't want your dentist to be someone that learned how to pull a tooth out of line, right?
Right.
Your heart surgeon, right? There's some doing jobs. I call them the doing jobs. There's some doing jobs that are highly skilled people that you want to have, experience and an education and things like that. But there is a lot out there that you can learn online today, or reading, whatever it is. But there's a lot of information out there to consume.
And that's it. And you need somebody who believes that and owns it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
You,
certainly in telecom, there's, a million acronyms, there's security, integration with everything, and people are talking their language. And
yep.
you could be overwhelmed real quick.
100%. But if you take the time to go figure some things out, and here's a great example. Here's an interesting example, and not to pat myself on the back anyway, but I will say this: when I used to work for the phone company, I was in the consumer space. Okay, I wasn't even in the business to business space. I was in the consumer space. When I went to MCI, which was the competitive phone company I worked for, it was all business. And they're like, you're going to come out here and you're going to sell some T1s with us. You're going to do this, right? Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, what the heck is a T1?
You try to Google it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't. Google wasn't that fast back then, right? So you're like, what's a T1? Actually, it was the big thick dictionary, the telecom dictionary, And so it's like, what's this and what's that? No, I had to go learn everything about business. So I had procured the job to do business to business sales and sales management without knowing what I was selling. I had no clue what it was. I mean, it was different. And the same was actually true when I went to the job that I was at for 10 years, right? Where I was in the wholesale space selling to the telecom carriers. In my interview, I remember my now business partner, actually, just to come to think of it, he said, you're going to do origination and termination. And that's basically inbound and outbound calling. And I'm like, yeah, let's do a bunch of that. Yeah, sounds great.
Do that all day.
What's origination and termination? So you have to be willing to go learn.
And what do you look for when you're hiring? You get the work ethic. Let's say they have that. What selling skills are you looking for?
Oh, the communication skills,
Yeah.
the so verbal and writing skills. Because if you can put together documentation, if you can put together complete emails, I really dislike when someone thinks that they send an email to you and they think they're on text. LMK, it's like, let me know, and you see that in an email and you're like, this is not a text message, right? It's like I know that person's like 27 years old or 32 years old that I'm talking to now on the other end of an email, right? So I look for the communication skills, written, verbal, and then tenacity, right? Like if you can figure out how to find tenacity, I like the competitive attitude. I have two kids, both 17 and 18 years old. Both of them played sports. And though I think they missed out on a lot of other life skills because they were consistently in sports, they're both very competitive. And at some point, they're going to be an asset in the job market because they are competitive and they want to succeed and they want to show up, and beat whoever there is out there to beat, right? And so, they're competitive against themselves, and so at some point they will be, I think, good good candidates, right?
Well, I assume they were team sport.
They were football, baseball, cheerleading, competitive sports,
Okay,
gymnastics.
so they
Yeah.
always had a coach.
Always have had a coach. Always have had a coach. Yes.
So
Yes, they have.
that ability to understand that coach doesn't like or hate me. That coach is helping me. They're saying something to improve my skill as opposed to knock me down or build me up. It's like,
Everybody needs a coach. I mean, Russell Wilson, right? He's a great quarterback. He's got a mental coach, right?
Well,
Everyone needs that.
well, the other thing, but in academics, you really don't get that. The answer is either right or wrong, or there's some subjective, like essays, where it could be a C or a B. Who knows? It's up to the interpretation.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And there's a path in college. There's a path. Just do this,
Right.
memorize this, and you get to the next level, right? So there's no,
That's not
oftentimes
sales.
there's not, no, there's not a lot of thinking on your, there's not a lot of, ways to go. And in sales, this thing could go anywhere, right? Back to your coach comment though, it's interesting. Even, I mean, when you think someone's doing a great job, I'll give you another example. My fiance today, she's a very successful real estate person, does really, really well for herself. Uh, and she had an opportunity to be coached by just a real estate sales coach. And her company said, we're going to pay for it for you because you're a top performer. And so they paid for it for her. And she worked with him for a year. And once a month, I think is what it was for a year. Her next year, she earned significantly more than she was already earning. And by just implementing some of the things that they talked about and helping her stay accountable to some things that she had promised to stay accountable to, things like that. And she's not a person that needs that. She's very dedicated. She works really hard. She doesn't need to, I would have thought I use her as a model and go, boy, her work ethic is a model work ethic, right? But even working with a coach still, she still outperformed herself from the prior year. So I think coaching is something that I personally am looking to do more of this year.
Well, they call it Solomon's effect, where like you could notice me do selling, and you could probably find 5 or 10 things that I could improve on that I can't see,
Yeah.
and
Is
vice
that what it is?
versa.
I didn't know that, but
Well,
that's true. It's true though. It's true
yeah.
because you're
How
not
many
looking for
chubby
that.
people come up to you and go, "I can't lose weight,"
Right.
and
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
drinking something or eating something. I
Right.
tell
Right.
you,
Do you know what's going in your body? Yeah. Well, no, that's
oh, I
why.
didn't know there was 500 calories in this.
Right. Right. And it's true. You're absolutely right. That's pretty interesting because you see what you want to see or what you're looking for rather. If you're
Yes.
looking for, it's funny because I just saw a video today and it's like, look for the color brown and you're looking for the color brown, you're looking for the color brown. And it says, did you see anything red? Oh, no, I didn't see anything red. I was looking for brown. I didn't see the red. And then you all of a sudden look for the red and you're like, the red's everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. But I didn't see the red. I just saw the brown. And so if again, you live with yourself every day, right? You live with your performance every single day, what you do at work every day. So you are certainly right. An outside perspective always can help.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, really appreciate your time today. Where can people go to connect and follow you?
G12 Communications. It's g12com.com. Certainly my LinkedIn, R Garcia. It's LinkedIn. I think it's R Garcia, but I'm Rick Garcia, G12 Communications. Look me up, send me a note, say hello.